The alien queen's daughter hadn't eaten in 2 weeks. Until the new janitor human did the impossible. The space station floated like a silent city between stars. Its walls were smooth and dark, built from metal stronger than any known stone. Lights moved along its surface like slow rivers. Inside, long halls stretched in all directions, clean and cold, filled with the sound of machines and distant footsteps. This station was the heart of a powerful alien empire, ruled by a queen whose word decided life and death. Deep inside the station was the Royal Medical Chamber. It was a large room filled with glowing devices and floating screens. Soft lights changed color as machines worked without rest. At the center of the room lay the Queen's daughter. She was small compared to the adults of her kind. Her skin, once bright and full of color, now looked pale and dry. Her eyes were open, but there was no hunger in them, only pain and tiredness. She had not eaten in 2 weeks. The best healers of the empire stood around her. They were tall beings with sharp eyes and calm voices. Their tools were advanced, older than many civilizations. They scanned the child again and again. They tried new liquids, new energy waves, new treatments. Nothing worked. Every time they tried to feed her, her body rejected it. The food came back untouched. Her strength faded a little more each day. The Queen stood near the bed, silent and still. She was taller than the others, her presence heavy like gravity. Her crown was simple but ancient, marked by symbols of rule. Her hands were clenched behind her back. She did not shout. She did not cry. But everyone in the room felt her anger and fear growing. Servants were replaced daily. Guards were punished for small mistakes. The air of the station felt tight, as if everyone was holding their breath. Rumors spread to the lower levels. Some said the child was cursed. Some said the Queen had angered the stars themselves. Others feared what would happen if the heir died. Far from the royal chamber, in the lower service halls, a human worked quietly. He was a janitor, one of many brought from Earth to do simple labor. Humans were considered useful only for basic tasks: cleaning, repairing, carrying, nothing important. He wore a plain uniform and pushed a small cleaning unit that hummed softly as it moved. He kept his head down and his eyes open. He had been on the station for only a short time. Most aliens ignored him. Some looked at him with mild curiosity, others with clear dislike. Humans were fragile compared to them. Slow, weak, easy to replace. As he cleaned a long hallway near the medical wing, he noticed the silence. This area was usually busy. Healers, guards, officials. Now there was tension instead of noise. He passed by walls that glowed faintly, reflecting his tired face. He had cleaned many places before, but something about this area felt heavy. When he reached a waste unit near a guarded door, he paused. The guards were focused on the inside of the room. They did not notice him at first. As he worked, he glanced through the transparent section of the door. That was when he saw her. The child lay still, surrounded by light. Her body looked too small for the large bed. Tubes and devices hovered near her skin. She did not move much, but her eyes shifted slowly. For a moment, her gaze met his. It was not the look of a ruler's child. It was the look of someone very tired. The human froze for a second. He had seen sickness before, on Earth, in places where machines were few and hope was thin. He had seen children who were not hungry because their bodies were too weak to feel hunger anymore. He looked away quickly and returned to his work. It was not his place. He was just a janitor. But the image stayed with him. Over the next few days, his work took him past the medical wing again and again. Each time, the guards changed, but the feeling remained the same. Heavy, tight. The Queen was always there now. He could feel her presence even without seeing her. One day, as he cleaned near the door, he noticed something new. A small sound. Soft. Almost missed. The child made a weak noise. Not a cry. Not a word. Just a sound of discomfort. The human stopped cleaning. He watched the healers rush forward, adjusting machines, adding more light, more energy. The child turned her head slightly away. Her body reacted badly. The machines beeped faster. The human felt a cold feeling in his chest. He had seen this pattern before. Too much. Always too much. He knew what would happen if this continued. That night, in his small sleeping space, he could not rest. He sat on his narrow bed, staring at the metal wall. Humans were taught to follow orders, to stay invisible, but they were also taught something else. When survival is at stake, you act. The next cycle, he returned to the medical wing. His hands shook slightly as he cleaned. The guards were distracted, arguing quietly with a healer outside the door. The Queen was inside. He took a breath. He stepped closer and spoke. His voice was calm but firm. "I need to speak." The guards turned in surprise. They looked down at him, confused, then annoyed. A human janitor was not supposed to speak here. One guard made a harsh sound. "Leave." The human did not move. "I think I can help." That sentence hung in the air like a broken alarm. The guards laughed, short and sharp. One of them reached for his weapon, more out of habit than threat. A human helping the royal child was unthinkable, but the noise caught the attention of the Queen. She turned. Her eyes locked onto the human. They were ancient eyes, filled with loss and power. The room went silent. Even the machines seemed quieter. The human swallowed, but he did not look away. He bowed his head slightly, not in fear, but respect. "I clean the halls," he said simply, "but I have seen sickness like this before." The healers reacted with anger. One stepped forward, speaking quickly, explaining how impossible it was. They had knowledge beyond his species, beyond his world. The Queen raised a hand. Silence returned. She studied the human for a long moment. He was small, weak by their standards, but he stood straight. His eyes were tired but clear. "Speak," the Queen said. The word felt heavy, like a command written into the walls. The human took a slow breath. "She is not refusing food," he said carefully. "Her body cannot accept it right now." The healers protested at once. Data and readings flashed across screens, proof of their work. The human nodded. "I know it looks different, but sometimes feeding is not the first step." The Queen looked back at her daughter. The child's breathing was shallow, her hands barely moved. Hope was dangerous, but doing nothing was worse. "What do you need?" the Queen asked. The human hesitated. He had not expected this far. "Time," he said. "And permission to look closer." The healers objected strongly. Guards shifted their stance. This was madness. The Queen felt the weight of her empire pressing on her. Tradition, pride, fear of failure. Then she remembered the way her daughter had turned her head away from the machines.
5 minutes, the Queen said. The room froze.
The human stepped forward slowly, carefully. as if approaching a frightened animal. He did not touch the child yet. He watched her breathing, her skin, her eyes. He listened, not with machines, but with experience. The child's gaze moved toward him again. For the first time in days, she focused on something. The human knelt beside the bed, and in that moment, no one noticed the stars outside, or the Empire holding its breath. Something impossible had just begun. The human knelt beside the child, his hands steady even as the room buzzed with tension. The alien doctors hovered nearby, their many limbs twitching nervously, eyes flicking between him and the child. They had never seen a human act this way, so calm, so certain. The Queen stood behind them, her gaze sharp, waiting to see if this small, fragile being could achieve what their most advanced machines could not. He studied the child closely. Her skin was pale, almost translucent in the chamber's light. Tiny veins ran beneath it like threads of silver. Her breathing was shallow, uneven, as if her body were unsure of how to survive. He noticed the subtle twitch of her fingers and the faint rise and fall of her chest. Every detail mattered. Double bill, 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 bill. Machines had reported numbers, charts, and energy flows, but they had missed the simple truth. The child's body was exhausted and overstimulated. The human understood this instinctively. "You must let her rest," he said softly, not to the doctors, but to the child herself. His voice was low, comforting, carrying a warmth they had not heard in the cold, calculated room. He adjusted the lighting slightly, dimming it. The soft glow did not disturb her eyes. No more alarms, no more devices, just calm. One of the lead doctors hissed, waving a tentacle-like limb. "You cannot do this. She needs energy, nutrients, protocols. She will die without proper stimulation." The human shook his head gently. "She does not need more."
She needs less. Your methods overwhelm her.
Machines cannot replace care. The Queen's eyes narrowed.
"Care? From a janitor?" He met her gaze. "Sometimes care is what the strongest cannot provide. Let me try." The Queen said nothing, but the subtle tension in her posture eased slightly. She had seen too many children die because of pride and overconfidence. Perhaps this human might know something her empire had forgotten. He removed a small device the healers had placed near her head. The machine's soft hum disappeared, leaving a quiet emptiness in the room. The child's eyes flickered at the change. She moved slightly, as if sensing relief. He smiled faintly and waited. Patience was key. Humans survived long before they had advanced technology because they understood limits. He picked up a small cloth, soaked it in warm water, and tested it on his hand. Not too hot, not too cold. He brushed it gently across the child's cheek and neck. Her eyes widened slightly at the sensation. A tiny sigh escaped her lips. It was not much, but it was movement. It was response. The alien doctors whispered urgently among themselves. "This is improper. She is not human. She cannot be treated like one of them. The body is different. The protocols are different." The human did not respond. He continued his careful work, letting the child acclimate to the human touch, the simple warmth, the quiet. He spoke softly at intervals, not demanding attention but offering comfort. "Breathe slowly, in and out. You are safe. You are not alone." A moment passed, and then another. The child's fingers twitched again. Her lips moved slightly. She did not speak, but she looked at him with a faint spark of awareness. This was progress. Small, almost invisible, but undeniable. The lead doctor stepped forward, frustration clear. "You are wasting time. She is losing energy. Your primitive methods will fail." The human did not rise. Instead, he watched, observing the child's subtle responses. Energy is not only what enters the body. Sometimes it must come from quiet, from stillness, from the senses learning to trust again. The queen's daughter let out a faint cough, a dry sound, and the human immediately adjusted her position. He elevated her slightly, supporting her head. He dabbed at her lips with the warm cloth. Slowly, she closed her eyes for a moment, letting him guide her. The room was still, except for the soft sound of breathing. The machines remained silent, almost ignored, as if they knew the human's approach was different. The child's body seemed to respond to this gentleness. Her chest rose more evenly. Her fingers moved with a little more strength. The human noticed a tiny weakness in her lips. He reached into a small satchel he had carried with him. Inside were simple ingredients from the station's kitchens and storage. He mixed a liquid carefully, not like the alien meals or the artificial energy feeds the doctors had tried. It was simple, nourishing in a subtle way, easy for a body too weak for complex sustenance. He offered it to her slowly, letting her choose. The child hesitated. Her eyes, dull from days of weakness, flickered with curiosity. For the first time, she moved toward him. She tasted it, and her lips closed gently around the liquid. She swallowed. The reaction was immediate. Her eyes opened wider. Her fingers moved more. She gave a faint sigh of relief. It was subtle, almost imperceptible to the untrained eye, but to the human, it was victory. The queen gasped. She did not step forward. Instead, she watched, silent and cautious. The healers muttered among themselves, clearly unsettled. No human had ever restored a royal child without advanced equipment, and yet it was happening. The child drank a little more. Her energy returned slowly, and with it, a spark of life she had not shown in days. She looked at the human, studying him with bright, intelligent eyes. For a moment she reached her hand toward him, a tiny gesture, but a clear sign of trust. The human nodded slightly. "Good. We will take it slowly, one step at a time." No machines, no force. Just you and me. The room remained tense. Guards shifted uneasily. The queen leaned slightly forward, intrigued and fearful at the same time. The child moved slightly on her own, her body responding to the simple care. The human continued for hours, adjusting, observing, and gently guiding. He learned the rhythm of her breathing, the small signs of distress, the moments of comfort. Every time she reacted positively, he made mental notes. Every negative sign was corrected quickly. By the end of the cycle, the child had taken more of the liquid. Her color returned slightly. Her movements were more purposeful. Her eyes tracked him more steadily. She even made a faint sound, a soft note of recognition. The queen stepped closer. "Explain this to me," she demanded. The human met her gaze. Her body needed calm.
Your methods overstimulated her. Machines and medicines can overwhelm, even with good intent.
She needed patience, observation, and gentle care. She is responding because she feels safe and because her senses are not overloaded. The healers murmured angrily, but the queen held up her hand. She saw the truth in front of her, even if it went against centuries of tradition. The child was improving, slowly but undeniably. The human stood, brushing his hands lightly, careful not to startle her. We will continue carefully, no rush, no force. She will heal, but it must be done gently. The child's eyes focused on him again. Her lips moved slightly, a weak smile forming. It was the first time anyone had seen her expression in days. The Queen's voice softened, almost unheard. Do not fail her. Do not fail us. The human nodded. I will not fail. Outside the chamber, the guards and nobles whispered in awe and disbelief. A simple human janitor had done what the Empire's most advanced healers could not. Some felt fear, some felt hope. The small human had changed everything in one quiet afternoon. And deep within the child, strength began to return. Not all at once, but enough to let her survive. Enough to let her begin to trust again. The human stayed near her side, quietly observing. Outside, the station continued to hum and shine, oblivious to the quiet miracle happening within its walls. The child's eyes followed him, small fingers twitching as if understanding that something impossible had just begun. Time moved differently in the chamber now. The machines no longer dictated rhythm. The human and the child moved together, slowly, step by step, toward recovery. The Queen watched, hope and caution mixing, as the impossible quietly unfolded before her eyes. And for the first time in 2 weeks, the child's gaze was alive with recognition. She was not alone. She had not been forgotten. The human whispered softly, as if speaking to the stars themselves, "We will get through this, little one step at a time." And for the first time in many cycles, the child believed him. The human stayed near the child, watching carefully. Each small movement, each tiny breath, mattered. The room remained quiet, filled with the soft hum of machines now mostly ignored. The child's body had responded to his care, but she was still weak. Her arms trembled when she tried to move. Her eyes, though brighter, still held shadows of pain. The human understood that recovery would take time. Patience would be as important as nourishment. The Queen stood nearby, silent but observing. Her presence was heavy, almost pressing down on the human. She had seen many failures in her life, many deaths despite the greatest knowledge. Yet now, in front of her eyes, a simple human seemed to succeed where the Empire's finest had not. She did not speak, only watched. Her daughter's life rested in his hands, and every instinct in her being warned her to be cautious. The healers crowded the edges of the room, restless. Their voices rose in whispers, sharp and quick. "This is not proper," one said. "We must return her to treatment." Another added, "Human methods are primitive. She is not like them."
This will fail, but the human did not respond to their murmurs.
He had learned to trust what he could see and feel, not what others demanded. He picked up the small cup of liquid he had prepared earlier. It was simple, almost bland by alien standards, yet it was designed to be gentle on her system, nourishing without overwhelming. He offered it to the child again. She hesitated, her hand weakly reaching toward it. Slowly, she brought it to her lips. The human held the cup steady, never rushing her. She drank a little, then paused, then drank again. The room went still. Even the machines seemed to quiet, as if waiting. The child's eyes followed the cup with more focus than she had shown in days. Her fingers twitched, gripping the cup carefully. The human's heart did not race, but his mind stayed sharp. One wrong move could undo all progress. Suddenly, a faint glow appeared in her eyes. It was subtle, almost like reflected light. but it caused an instant stir. The healers gasped and stepped back. "What is this?" one demanded. "She cannot survive this." The queen held up her hand, silencing them. She saw the child's chest rise more evenly. The tremor in her hands had lessened. The glow in her eyes was not a warning. It was a sign of life returning. She stepped closer, but carefully, keeping her distance. The child drank more of the liquid. She let out a soft sigh, one that seemed to carry relief and wonder at the same time. She moved her head slightly, turning toward the human. Her small hand reached for his, not fully, but enough to show recognition. The human nodded, encouraging her gently. "Good," he said softly. "You are doing well. Just slowly." One of the healers moved forward quickly. "You are interfering. She is royal blood."
You cannot. The human raised a hand, calm but firm.
"I am not interfering. I am helping. Watch and see." The healer froze, taken aback. The human's confidence was not arrogance. It was certainty born from observation and experience. He adjusted the child's position gently, making sure she was comfortable. He dabbed the cloth lightly to clear sweat from her brow. The child relaxed a little under his hands, something she had not done with machines or advanced treatments. Minutes passed. The child drank, rested, and drank again. Each small sip strengthened her just enough to move her fingers, lift her head slightly, and even whisper a faint sound. It was not a word, but it was enough to bring a tear to the queen's eye. Her daughter was responding. Slowly, carefully, she was alive again. The human noticed the smallest signs of distress, a faint shiver, a twitch. He adjusted her posture, whispered softly, and the child calmed. Every gesture was precise, intentional, yet gentle. Machines could not do this. Advanced tools could not sense the tiny rhythms of her body. Only careful attention, observation, and patience could reach her now. Outside the chamber, the guards and lesser nobles whispered. Some felt disbelief, others envy, and a few, secret hope. A human janitor was succeeding where the Empire's most advanced healers had failed. The hierarchy, the traditions, and the pride of centuries were challenged in silence. The human prepared another small portion of the liquid. He made it slow and steady. The child accepted it, her small hand trembling but determined. With each sip, her glow increased subtly. Her chest rose evenly, her fingers moved more, and her head lifted higher than before. The queen's voice was quiet but carried authority. "Explain what you are doing," she said. The human looked up. Her body has been overwhelmed. Machines, medicines, energy feeds, they all tried to force strength, but the body cannot take force when it is too weak. It needs calm, gentle support and patience. That is why she responds now. The queen studied him closely. "And the glow in her eyes? It is life returning," the human said simply. "Her energy is balancing again. She is still weak, but she will recover." The healers whispered angrily among themselves, unsure if they should intervene. The human continued, carefully adjusting the child's position, guiding her through small movements, helping her sip the liquid. The child's lips moved slightly as she followed his instructions, a faint trust forming in her expression. Hours passed. The child's small body strengthened slowly. She lifted her head fully, moved her fingers more, and even sat up with help. She gave a weak but genuine sound, almost like laughter. The queen's eyes softened. She had feared this moment for weeks, but it had arrived quietly and unexpectedly. The human leaned back slightly, giving her space. "You are doing very well," he said softly. "No rush. One step at a time." The queen stepped closer, her expression cautious but hopeful. She saw what no machine had shown. The child was alive, responding, and beginning to regain strength. The human had not used advanced tools or complex energy feeds. He had used something simple, almost forgotten: attention, care, and patience. The child's small hand reached toward him again. The human took it gently. Her eyes followed his movements. She did not speak, but the trust in her gaze was clear. It was fragile, like the first light of dawn, but it was real. The healers murmured, conflicted. Some argued that this method could never replace the Empire's protocols. Others, more quietly, wondered if they had been too proud to see what was in front of them. The human continued with steady hands and calm voice. Each movement, each small sip, each gentle adjustment strengthened the child. Slowly, her energy returned. Slowly, her small body regained strength. Slowly, her trust in another being grew. The queen's presence loomed, but she did not interfere. She watched, silent but attentive, realizing that sometimes even the most fragile beings could change the fate of an empire. The child, still weak, looked at the human, and something passed between them, a connection born of care, of attention, of quiet understanding. Outside, the station hummed on, vast and cold. Inside, in the quiet chamber, a small human janitor was performing what seemed impossible. He was saving the life of a royal child with nothing but patience, observation, and quiet courage. The child's lips moved again, forming a sound the human recognized as acknowledgement. He smiled faintly, careful not to disturb her. "We will continue tomorrow," he said softly. "You are stronger than you know." The queen's eyes softened, her pride and fear mixing together. She stepped closer, still keeping distance, and whispered almost to herself, "Perhaps humans are not so weak as we thought." And in that quiet chamber, life returned slowly. One small sip, one careful movement, one tiny gesture at a time. The impossible was beginning to feel possible, and the Empire's most powerful rulers realized that strength could come from the smallest and most unexpected places. The child's eyes, glowing faintly with renewed energy, followed the human as he gently stood and prepared to leave for the night. For the first time in many cycles, she felt safe. For the first time, she felt that perhaps she could survive. And the human, standing quietly beside the bed, whispered softly, "We will do this together." One step at a time. Outside, the station continued its silent orbit among the stars. Inside, a quiet miracle had begun, and the future, once uncertain, now carried a small glimmer of hope. The next cycle began with quiet tension spreading through the station. Word had moved fast. A human janitor had helped the royal child when the Empire's greatest healers failed. Some believed it was luck. Others believed it was danger. The medical chamber, once calm and controlled, now felt like the center of a growing storm. The child woke slowly. Her eyes opened without pain this time. The light did not hurt as much. Her body still felt weak, but it was no longer empty. There was warmth inside her chest, small but steady. She breathed in and out, slowly, the way the human had shown her. The human was already there, sitting quietly near the bed. He did not rush toward her. He waited until her eyes found him. When they did, he gave a small nod. The child made a faint sound, almost a greeting. It was not a word, but it was clear enough. The queen stood near the far side of the room, watching everything. She had not slept. Her posture was strong, but her eyes showed fear she did not allow others to see. She had ruled for many cycles, but nothing had ever frightened her like the thought of losing her child. The healers returned, more than before. Some were angry, some were curious, a few were silent, studying the human from a distance. They brought new devices, new scans, new arguments. They demanded control of the room again. "This has gone on long enough," one healer said sharply. "The child shows unstable signs. The glow in her eyes is not normal. This human influence is unsafe." The human stood slowly. He did not raise his voice. "She is stable," he said. "She is improving." "Where? You can see it." Another healer pointed at the screens. "The data does not match our expectations." "Your expectations were wrong," the human replied calmly. The room fell silent. No one spoke to healers like that. Not servants, not humans. The queen lifted her hand. "Enough," she said. "Speak one at a time." One of the elder nobles entered the chamber then. His body was marked with symbols of rank and age. His eyes were sharp and cold. He looked first at the child, then at the human. "This situation is unacceptable," the elder said. "A low worker influencing royal blood. This sets a dangerous example." The child shifted on the bed. She did not like the tone of his voice. Her fingers tightened slightly around the edge of the blanket. The human noticed immediately. He stepped closer to the bed, placing himself between her and the elder without touching either. "She needs calm," the human said. "Not fear." The elder narrowed his eyes. "You forget your place." The queen took one step forward. The sound of her movement echoed. "He has saved her life," she said quietly. "That has not been proven." At that moment the child sat up on her own. It was slow.
Weak, but it was her own movement.
The room froze. The child's breathing stayed steady. She did not collapse. She did not cry out. She simply sat, supported by pillows, her eyes alert and aware. She looked around the room, then back at the human. The queen's breath caught. The healers stared in disbelief. The elder stepped back without meaning to. The child lifted one hand and pointed toward the human. Her voice was soft, rough from weakness, but clear enough to hear. It was the first sound she had formed with meaning in weeks. "Him?" The word echoed through the chamber like a shockwave. The queen moved instantly to her daughter's side. She did not touch her yet, afraid to break the moment.
"Yes," she said softly.
"He is here." The child's eyes stayed on the human. She reached for him again. This time, her hand did not tremble as much. The human took her hand gently. "This changes nothing," the elder said, though his voice lacked strength now. "She is still unstable. This could be temporary." "Then we will continue," the queen replied. "As we have been." The elder turned to her sharply. "You risk the future of the empire." The queen looked at him, and her gaze was cold and absolute. "There is no future without her." The elder said no more. The healers retreated slightly, confused and unsettled. Some watched closely now, curiosity replacing anger. The human returned to his quiet routine. He helped the child drink a small amount of the liquid again. She accepted it willingly, even lifting the cup herself with his guidance. The glow in her eyes softened. It was no longer sharp or alarming. It looked natural, like light reflecting from deep water. Time passed slowly. The human spoke gently, guiding her breathing, helping her rest between small efforts. He never pushed. Each action was careful, measured. Later, a sudden sound broke the calm. An alarm rang out, sharp and loud. Red light flashed across the walls. The child flinched, her breathing quickening. The human reacted instantly. He placed one hand near her shoulder, not touching, just close enough for her to sense his presence. "It is all right," he said.
Listen to me. Slow breath. The alarm continued.
Guards rushed in. Voices rose. The child's glow flared suddenly, bright and uncontrolled. The healers shouted. "Her energy is spiking." The queen felt fear grip her chest. "Turn it off," she commanded. The alarm stopped, but the damage was done. The child's body tensed. Her breath came fast and shallow. The glow in her eyes became painful to look at. The human did not panic. He moved closer, this time placing his hand gently on her arm. "Look at me," he said firmly but softly. "Just me." The child's eyes found his through the bright light. Her breathing stuttered. "Slow," he said. "In, out, follow me," he breathed with her, exaggerated and calm. Slowly, her breath began to match his. The glow faded little by little. The tension left her body in small waves. The room was silent again. The healers stared, shaken. The queen felt her knees weaken with relief. The elder noble watched from the shadows, his expression unreadable. When the child finally rested back against the pillows, exhausted but safe, the queen turned to the room. "This ends now," she said. "There will be no more alarms, no sudden actions. Anyone who cannot follow this will leave." No one argued. Later, when the room was empty except for the child, the human, and the queen, she finally spoke. "You did not hesitate," the queen said, "even when she was in danger." The human nodded. "Fear makes things worse." She needed calm. The queen looked at her daughter, sleeping peacefully. "My people forgot that." The human said nothing. The queen turned to him. "You have enemies now." "I know," he replied. "You could leave," she said. "I would allow it." He shook his head. "She still needs me." The queen studied him for a long moment. Then she bowed her head slightly. It was a small gesture, but for a queen, it meant everything. Outside the chamber, whispers spread again. But this time, they were different. Fear mixed with respect, doubt mixed with awe. Inside, the child slept, her breathing steady, her body slowly healing. And the human sat quietly beside her, knowing that the hardest part was still ahead. The station did not feel the same anymore. Something had shifted, unseen but heavy, like a change in gravity. The story had spread beyond the medical wing. Servants whispered in corridors. Dark guards spoke in low voices when they thought no one listened. A human janitor had touched the royal future and lived. Worse for some, he had succeeded. The child slept peacefully now. Her breathing was deep and slow. Color had returned to her skin, faint but real. She had eaten small amounts again, carefully, without pain. She was not healed, not fully, but she was alive in a way she had not been for many cycles. The human remained close, sitting quietly, as always. He did not speak, unless needed. He did not act like someone important. That made many uneasy. The queen had ordered that nothing in the child's care be changed without her direct command. That order angered many. The elder noble returned with others like him, powerful figures who believed in rules, distance, and control. They gathered outside the medical chamber, their voices sharp and cold. "This cannot continue," one said. "The human is influencing the air." This is dangerous. He has no rank, said another.
No authority. If others see this, they will question everything. The elder nodded.
Then we must act before it spreads. Inside the chamber, the queen sensed the tension before she heard it. She looked at her daughter, then at the human. They are coming, she said quietly. The human nodded. I expected it. You are not afraid, the queen observed. I am, he said honestly. But fear cannot decide what is right. Before she could answer, guards entered. Their posture was stiff, uncomfortable. By order of the council, one said, the human is to be removed for questioning. The child stirred at the sound. Her breathing changed. Her eyes opened slowly, then focused on the human. No, she said softly. Her voice was still weak, but the word was clear. The guards froze. The queen stood. You will leave, she told them.
Now! The guards hesitated. Orders from the council were powerful.
Orders from the queen were absolute. The council has demanded this, one guard said carefully. And I have denied it, the queen replied. The elder noble stepped into the doorway. You deny the will of the empire. The queen turned to face him fully. I protect its future. The elder looked past her, at the human. This one manipulates you. He must be questioned. The human stood. I will go, he said. The queen turned sharply. No, he met her gaze. If I do not, they will force it. That will frighten her. The child's hand reached for him again, tighter this time. Her eyes were wide. I will come back, he said softly to her. I promise. She shook her head weakly. Stay. The queen felt something twist inside her chest. She had ruled without doubt for many cycles. Now doubt pressed hard. The elder watched, satisfied. You see, she depends on him too much. The human bent slightly, bringing his face closer to the child's. Listen to me, he said quietly. Breathe slowly. Remember what we practiced. She watched him, trembling, but nodded. He straightened and turned to the queen. I will answer their questions. But only questions. No harm. The queen's jaw tightened. If they touch you, they won't, he said. Not yet. The guards took him away. The doors closed behind them with a heavy sound. The moment he was gone, the child's breathing changed. Her hands clenched. The glow in her eyes flickered. The queen moved instantly to her side. I am here, she said. You are safe. But the child's body reacted to the loss. Her heart rate rose. Her breathing became uneven. The healers rushed forward. Old habits returned. Devices moved closer. Stop, the queen commanded. They froze. Slow, the queen said, trying to remember the human's words. Slow breath. She breathed with her daughter, awkward at first. In, out. The child struggled, but after long moments, her breathing eased. The glow softened again. The queen stayed with her, holding her small hand, realizing how much she had relied on others before. On machines.
On rules. Now she relied on presence.
Elsewhere, the human was brought into a cold chamber. No decorations, no warmth, only light and metal. The elder and several council members waited. You have overstepped, the elder said.
You are a cleaner, nothing more.
The human stood calmly. I am someone who noticed.
You interfere with royal blood, another said.
Explain why we should not remove you permanently. The human did not argue. Because the child is alive. That proves nothing, the elder replied. It proves everything, the human said simply. Your methods failed.
Mine did not.
Silence followed. One council member leaned forward. Why did she respond to you? Because I did not force her, the human answered. 'Cause I listened. Because I treated her as a living being, not a system to control. The elder sneered. You claim superiority? No, the human said. I claim responsibility. They questioned him for a long time. About humans, about Earth, about why humans survived with so little technology. He answered simply, we adapt.
We watch. We care.
That is how we lived when we had nothing else. Hours passed. In the medical chamber, the child slept again, but lightly. She woke often, looking for the human. Each time the queen was there. You are strong, the queen whispered. Stronger than I knew. The child's voice was soft. He will come back. Yes, the queen said, though she did not know if it was true. Finally, the council session ended. The elder stood. You are a risk, he told the human. But removing you may cause more damage. Another council member spoke quietly. The child asked for him. That caused discomfort. The queen's authority remains, the elder said stiffly. But this will not be forgotten. The human was escorted back. When the doors to the medical chamber opened, the child sensed it before she saw him. Her head lifted. Her eyes searched. When she saw him, relief flooded her face. He approached slowly, careful not to rush. I came back, he said. She let out a small sound that was almost laughter. Her breathing steadied instantly. The queen watched, something heavy settling in her chest. Gratitude, mixed with fear of what this meant. Later, the queen called the human aside.
They will never trust you, she said. I don't need trust, he replied.
I need time. You have changed my child, she said, and my empire. He shook his head. She changed herself. I only helped. The queen looked at him for a long moment.
They will push again. I know, he said. She nodded slowly.
Then I will stand with you. Outside the chamber, the station continued its endless motion. Inside, lines had been crossed that could not be undone. The child slept peacefully again, her hand resting near the human's. She had eaten more than she had in weeks. She had smiled. But far beyond the chamber, plans were being made. Eyes were watching. The greatest danger was no longer sickness. It was fear of change. The human returned to the medical chamber once again. The child sat up in her bed, her small body stronger than it had been in weeks. She looked at him with wide, bright eyes, the faint glow in them soft and calm now. Her hands reached toward him, not for comfort alone, but with trust. The human knelt before her and smiled gently, careful not to overwhelm her senses. The queen stood nearby, her posture still regal, but her expression softened with relief and quiet admiration. She had watched the empire's finest fail, machines and medicine unable to revive her daughter. And now a human janitor, a fragile and overlooked being, had done what the empire could not. She understood that her daughter's survival depended on more than rank or technology. It depended on care, patience, and understanding. the kind of care that came from noticing what others ignored. The child took a small sip of the liquid he prepared. She smiled faintly as she did, the gesture weak but meaningful. "I am hungry," she said softly. Her voice carried strength and hope, the first true words she had spoken in days. The human nodded, letting her know he understood. Slowly, he said, "We will start small." For hours he helped her eat tiny amounts, guiding her carefully. He adjusted pillows, offered gentle touches, and spoke softly to keep her calm. The glow in her eyes pulsed faintly with each sip, a sign that her energy was returning steadily. The queen watched every moment, realizing that this process was more than nourishment. It was trust being rebuilt, a bond forming that no machine or medicine could create. Word of the child's recovery spread quietly throughout the station. Aliens who had previously doubted humans began to see them differently. Servants whispered that humans were not weak. Guards who had scorned them now glanced with cautious respect. Even nobles who had opposed the human's presence paused to watch quietly. The Empire had underestimated a species that survived in ways alien beings could not understand. Later, the human stood beside the queen, observing the child as she attempted to sit up on her own. Her strength had returned enough to hold herself with minimal support. The queen's lips pressed together, a rare smile forming. "You have done what no one else could," she said, quietly. "I only helped," the human replied. She did the rest herself. The child reached for a small tray of food and picked up a piece of soft fruit. She chewed slowly, carefully, but without hesitation. Her eyes remained on the human, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they shared. It was simple, yet powerful. The queen finally addressed the room, speaking to the healers and nobles who had been watching. "This human will not be punished," she said firmly. "He will remain here as a guide for our healing methods. His approach has saved my daughter." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Some were shocked, others doubtful, and a few nodded in cautious agreement. The human remained quiet, letting the queen's words carry their weight. His work was not about power or recognition. It was about survival and care. The child laughed softly for the first time in weeks, a sound that echoed faintly through the chamber. The queen's heart lifted at the sound, and even the healers exchanged small looks of disbelief. Machines had not created this moment. Technology had not achieved it. A human had, with nothing but patience, attention, and quiet courage. As the day progressed, the child's appetite returned steadily. She ate small meals with growing confidence, her movements more deliberate, her voice stronger. She asked for the human repeatedly, following his guidance with trust and curiosity. The queen watched and realized that life had returned not only to her daughter's body, but also to her spirit. The human spent the hours observing her closely, offering advice and gentle guidance. He showed her how to manage her energy, how to breathe deeply, and how to regain control of her small movements. Every action was deliberate, measured, and careful. Every word spoken was calm and reassuring. The child responded quickly, showing more strength and awareness than anyone had expected. The queen approached him privately. "The Empire has never seen anything like this," she said. "They will never forget it. They may never understand it," he replied. "But it is not about understanding. It is about what works." The queen nodded. "You have changed my daughter, my family, and perhaps even my empire." The human shook his head. "I only helped. She changed herself. I only guided her." The child, noticing their conversation, reached out her small hand to him. Her eyes shone with trust, curiosity, and a quiet strength that had not existed before. She held his hand tightly for a moment, then smiled. The simple gesture carried more meaning than words ever could. Later, the child sat beside the large windows of the chamber, looking out at the stars beyond the station. The human stood near her, quietly watching her. Did not need to speak. The peace of the moment said everything. She had survived. She had regained strength. She had regained trust. And he had shown her, and the queen, that survival did not always depend on technology or status, but on attention, care, and the courage to do what others overlooked. The queen joined them, her hand resting lightly on her daughter's shoulder. She had once believed that power alone could protect her child. Now she understood that strength could come from the smallest, most unexpected places. A janitor, a human, had shown her a truth that no machine, no noble, no law could teach. The child ate slowly, savoring her food. The glow in her eyes reflected the starlight outside, calm and steady. The human observed her, satisfied but humble. His job was not done yet, but for the first time, the future felt safe. Outside the chamber, the station continued its silent orbit through space. Aliens watched quietly, their opinions of humans beginning to shift. Fear and doubt mixed with curiosity and awe. They had witnessed something extraordinary. Inside, the child laughed again softly, reaching for another piece of fruit. Her trust in the human was complete. The bond they shared, quiet and unspoken, had grown stronger than any rule, machine, or tradition. The human knelt beside her, offering guidance and care. The queen stood behind them, silent but proud. Together they had accomplished what had seemed impossible. And in the quiet of the chamber, with the stars shining far beyond the station, the child, the queen, and the human all understood something that no one else in the empire had yet realized. Life was not only sustained by power or technology, but by courage, care, and the willingness to do what others thought impossible. The child smiled again, small and real, and said softly, "Thank you." The human nodded, a faint smile on his lips. "We did it together." The queen looked at them both, her heart full.